There was a time before the silence had a name, before distance felt like safety, before I learned how to exist without being present. It didn't start with loss. It started with a name. I remember swallowing it, not out of fear, but recognition, because somewhere along the way, it stopped sounding like me. And once you lose your name, everything else becomes easier to misplace. So I looked up, hoping for something, anything, to anchor me. I spoke into the sky, carefully, respectfully, desperately. But the silence answered first, and it stayed, longer than any prayer I ever sent. That's when I realized some absences don't arrive loudly. They settle, they become normal. So I turned inward. But even there, I wasn't alone. My shadow had been watching, keeping record, not of who I was, but of everything I refused to face. It knew too much, and the more I ignored it, the clearer it became. So I made a choice, not to fight, not to run, but to sit, to listen, to face the parts of me I once called enemies, and understand them well enough to let them stay. Because rejection only sharpens what you avoid, but understanding doesn't always bring peace. Sometimes it just shows you how far you've drifted. I started noticing it then, in reflections that felt rehearsed, in faces that looked like mine but carried something else. The mirror adjusted, softened truths, delayed honesty. And I let it, because truth at that point felt heavier than illusion. So I stepped back, further, quieter, until one day I wasn't stepping at all. I had been buried, not physically, not visibly, but completely. I learned how to function without presence, how to speak without saying anything real, how to breathe without arriving. And people noticed, just not enough to stop it. So I adapted. I watched the ones who never looked back, the ones who left without carrying what they broke. And I learned carefully, until one day I wasn't studying them anymore. I was them. I became what hurt me, efficient, untouched, empty. And silence, that silence I once trusted, it changed. It wasn't quiet anymore. It was crowded, filled with every word I never said, every truth I refused to feel. It grew inside me, layer by layer, until it became louder than anything I tried to ignore. And somewhere in that noise, something else disappeared. Feeling, not pain, not joy, not anything that required me to respond. Just absence, clean, controlled, permanent. I told myself, this is strength, this is healing. But healing doesn't erase you. And I was gone, or so I thought, because silence, no matter how complete, can't hold forever. And one night, in the middle of everything I had learned to ignore, something spoke, not loudly, not urgently, just clearly. Enough. And for the first time in a long time I listened. It wasn't new. It wasn't foreign. It was familiar. It was mine. Not the version that learned to survive by disappearing. Not the one that adapted to distance. The one before all of it. The one that felt, and it didn't fix anything. Didn't restore what was lost. Didn't promise change. It just stayed. And somehow that was enough, because after everything, after losing my name, after speaking into silence, after facing shadows, after sitting with demons, after questioning reflection, after being buried, after becoming the damage, after drowning in silence, after forgetting how to feel, I heard myself, and maybe that's where it begins. Not again. Not new, but true.